Hey, what's up, everybody? This is your boy Rob Coleman, just back fresh off my win at the World Series of Comedy. Yay! Clap it up for your boy. Um, got a chance to go out to Las Vegas for a week and have some fun with a bunch of other comics from all over the country. And I tell you, man, there's really no winners or losers. Um, all of those comics are great comics. I hope all of them get jobs and gigs and listen. I wish the best for just comedy. Period. And I met a lot of good people. I think I made a lot of new friends, and I just like the vibe that we had there, a vibe of unity. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do the show that I'm doing tonight. The show that I'm doing tonight, I entitled it a conversation with Black MAGA, and I wanted to invite some of my friends, like personal friends that I mess with that are either conservative or MAGA or consider themselves MAGA. Most of my friends that are on that side are super intelligent guys. They're insightful. They research a lot of their facts. I feel like they're knowledgeable, but for whatever reason, there's a huge stigma to being a person of color in MAGA. You typically are seen as being either cultish or standoffish, maybe even a little haughty about your beliefs. And I don't like that feeling. I mean, these are a lot of guys, and this is not even all my friends that I know that are like this. I got like five different friends that consider themselves MAGA, and we just don't talk about politics because we can never agree on anything. So I wanted this show to be a point where we have to start building bridges. Because I was just discussing with one of my friends that the country is changing before our eyes. Laws are being rewritten, history books are being rewritten. Things that we saw one way are we're literally being gaslit and told that they're a totally different thing or a total other way. And we really just need to come to terms. If you're going to be a person of color and still be MAGA, I want to give you an opportunity to explain why. You know what I mean? Because I feel like I'm also insightful, intelligent. I research my facts, and I see things completely different than some of these guys sometimes, but in a respectful way. So instead of being like Jubilee, where we're arguing and trying to make points and go viral, on our different arguments, let's actually have a discussion and see if we can come to some common grounds with people of color who consider themselves MAGA. So let me introduce to you my friends who were brave enough to come on the show. I mean, I ain't saying my other friends weren't brave; they just tapped out on me. But I want to bring them in individually and introduce them. First, I want to bring in Uncle Grape, introduce himself. What's up, Grape? How you doing, boy?
What's going on, Mr. Coleman? How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing
Congratulations,
great. I wanted you to give you an
congratulations on your
opportunity for you
win.
to introduce yourself to the crowd. Let them know who you are and where you stand.
All right, before I do all that, man, I just want to congratulate you on bringing that win home, man. You deserve it, man. You are definitely phenomenal with the comedy, man. Definitely
Appreciate you,
amazing,
bro.
amazing talent. But yeah, man, my name is Michael Bradley. I go by Grape or Funny Cuz. I'm an actor, comedian, podcast host, researcher, truther, to the best of my ability. So I'm glad that you invited me onto the show. So we don't talk about these things enough, or they do. They are considered taboo conversations that people just can't seem to have them and respectfully disagree with each other. It's not mandated. You have to agree with your friends about everything, but it's
Right.
just the way disagreement is cool. It's when the disrespect comes in that makes it not cool. So
Absolutely.
we can
2000.
agree to disagree respectfully and still honor each other as men, still respect each other's point of views, in a respectful way.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Said I'm trying to get you guys invited back to the barbecue. Shit.
Yeah, I sure is hungry.
Exactly. All right, I'm gonna pop you out and pop Marco in for a second. I'll be right back.
All right.
All right, Marco, why don't you tell the people a little bit about yourselves and introduce yourself to the audience?
What up, it's your boy Marco from Upside Down Studios. I'm a podcaster, comedian, researcher, truther. Um, I don't know about the whole MAGA thing. I don't feel like uh, I feel like the MAGA label is kind of was has been taken out of context and used for something that it ain't supposed to be. It's became a mark of shame for a lot of people. Um, and you can't. It just seems like you can't want your country to be good again. Everybody else seems to be better, and I just don't understand the whole MAGA thing. Um, but again, I got an open mind. I always make sure I keep my open mind. If I'm wrong, I always say I'm wrong. And I always try to see things from both sides of the argument.
Hmm.
And that's another problem I notice that people have. When they try to talk politics or claim that they want to have a dialogue back and forth, as soon as you don't hit a certain point or as soon as you don't agree on a certain topic, then it does get into bitterisms. It's nobody benefits from that.
Yeah, exactly.
If you can't have a dialogue back and forth whether you agree or not,
Yeah,
then
fact,
why are you even in the conversation?
facts. All right, I'm gonna bring both you guys in, and let me just see here. All right, so what, like I said at my opening, one of the things I want to do is just have a respectful conversation about MAGA and or either being conservative, like you said, Marco. You don't necessarily consider yourself MAGA, but you do consider yourself conservative and support a lot of the MAGA point of
Well,
views,
I
right?
lean more conservative, but in the end, like you know as well as I do, man, I'm more for the truth. When I see
Hmm.
some fuck shit going on with the whole with the left, I call it out. Just like I see fuck shit on the right, I call it out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely, absolutely.
yeah.
Go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, I'm more along the lines with Marco's point of view and stance on that. I'm more conservative, but I lean towards MAGA and some of their things. But there's a lot of things I don't agree with them about neither. I want
Okay,
accountability on both ends of the
Right,
spectrum, whether you
right,
want the bread side or the blue side, conservative, liberal. Let's all hold each other to a higher standard.
I like that. I like that point of view.
right.
Um, and Greg has been popping in and out. Hold on, let me see if he. All right. So what I'm gonna do is, and like I said, I want this to be a respectful conversation, but I do want to uh offer anybody that's listening to this a drink challenge.
Phone call and it kicked me out. Sorry.
Oh no, no worries. I do want to offer anybody that's listening to this a drink challenge. Every time somebody says, "Well, what about?" I want y'all to take a drink. If you hear me, Marco, or Grape say, "What about Biden?" or "What about the Democrats?" or "What about Bush?" or "What about?" If you hear any of us say that, I want you to take a drink, and hopefully you won't be completely fucked up by the time this show. So get your whiskey, get your Tito's, get your Jameson, whatever, and keep it next to you, and be prepared to take a couple of shots. But hopefully, we won't get into a bunch of well, what abouts. So the first thing I want to do, the first question, and just to preface the audience, I gave these guys the questions beforehand because I didn't want this to be something where they didn't know what the questions were, and I'm asking them questions and they like, oh, it's a got you situation. I wanted them to know the questions up front so that they could research or have good answers ready, and then it don't turn into an argument. So let me pull up the slides that I put together for the show. Conversation with Black MAGA. And let's go to our first slide here. And the first question: what period is the great period we are trying to return to when we say make America great again? What do you guys think?
You gonna do this like in order, or how you want us to answer?
Whoever want to go first. You want to go first, Marco?
Well, I mean, since Grape kind of disappeared again, he looking
No, I'm
like
right here. No, I'm right here. I'm right here.
oh, it's up to you, man. You want to go first? You want me to go first?
I go first, man. I'm just
Go ahead.
reading. I typed all this stuff in so to see me while I'm reading what I typed in as my answers to the questions.
Oh, I
So
feel you.
so
Okay.
in my opinion, we to some extent have always suffered hatred and racism. You know what I mean? But it feels to me like honestly, we need to get back to the 60s and the 70s in that time. And the reason I'm saying that is because we had movements like the Black Party for self-defense. And in Chicago, we had people like Fred Hampton organizing across all racial boundaries and lines. He was pulling together white people, black people, Mexican people from inner city Chicago, and they was making a difference. They was making some noise. And this is before, of course, housing and forced removal of the black man came into play, where there were still there were still homes, there were still two parents in the family, and of course, project housing came around, and if you want to live here for free, the daddy got to go. So I feel like when a black family was we were still dealing with racism and shit like that then. But to me, those are kind of like the golden years before they destroyed the black family and destroyed the moral fabric of Black America, which contributes immensely to America.
When you say they destroyed it, who do you mean?
The powers that be, the people in charge, the corrupt government, people who are, you see, a lot of the misconception about, people will be like, oh, Democrats want to give us more food stamps, or they want to increase our food stamps. They want to increase. Well, to me, in my opinion, is that's just a way of the government to keep you docile and not desiring. Because if you can live here for $16 a month, I mean, yeah, $16 a month, get three, four, five, $600 in food stamps, and everything's taken care of for you, why would you want to thrive for anything other than that? Why would
Mm,
you want to go out and better yourself? So what they feel like it's being was a handout. It's basically the government's way of making sure, ensuring that we stay saturated in these projects and in these low income housing and these Section 8 housing, because nobody wants to do anything to better themselves when they got everything free. So I feel like
okay.
when the powers that be, and this is something that it's all, of course, it's all by design. It's all by design.
Okay.
So that's how I feel, in my opinion,
Yeah.
to that
Do you
question.
agree, Marco?
I agree somewhat with it, a little bit to it. Um, Personally, I mean, we're gonna go back to with the original what you with the question you sent. It was "Make America Great Again." What period is the great period we are trying to return to, and what does it look like for the people of color now? Um, Now that's kind of a little bit different than what's on the screen.
Yeah, I
Uh,
couldn't type all that in this one little box.
Yeah.
but my whole point of it is America at its worst. America at its worst in our history was better than any other country. Right now, in the litter box, with all the sand people, they're still slaves. There's still a slave trade in Africa to this day. It's still a slave trade. There's parts of Asia to this day. There is still a slave trade. The people have gotten, and it ain't just
Well,
people of color.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but are you saying any period then in American history is
Yes,
better
yeah,
than now?
any period in American history was better than any other country in that. America at its worst was better than any country at its best in any year, and that's
Mm,
historically correct. That's statistically and historically correct. Because while our slaves over here with me, my people, you, your people, our slaves got clothes. Our slaves got housing. Our slaves got food. Our slaves didn't have a dull knife to the neck or a spear to the neck. And I mean, and that is not taken away from the atrocities that happened. But I mean, it's like, I said earlier, I mean, back in the 17th century, the Irish slaves were brought here. In the 1600s, the Asian slaves were brought here. Then the black slaves, the 20 black slaves got brought across the water. And in between there, the Hispanics was just being traded like food stamps. So I mean, again, every period in time in history, you could go back to when Jim Crow was at its worst. You could go back to even when they were selling the slaves. It was still the shit that was going on here in America couldn't even touch the atrocities that was going on anywhere else in the world. So I mean,
so
I can't fuck with that whole when was America great? America
so
was
so
always great.
so
It's just
America
getting
now.
better.
So with your argument, you're saying America now, right now, is worse than America in, let's say, 1885, right before slavery was over with.
No, no, that's not what I said at all.
Oh, okay, okay, all
What I'm
right.
saying
Because
is
I'm trying to say,
America at its worst. So
is right, it's
America,
better than any other country.
right?
But when was is at its greatest? Like is there a period that's greater than it is right now? Is
Honestly, I would say the first 10 years, or I would say maybe the first generation after slavery, because a lot of people don't
like
realize.
the early 1900s?
Right, because a lot of people don't realize. I think it was 1920s actually, because I started looking back into a little bit of the history, And even though, like, that the TVs, that was still the black and white TVs, and everybody was just, getting all that shit. The white people, especially corporate white America, fucking love the idea of the free black man. I mean, they called them Negroes on TV. People were ignorant back then, but still, they were ignorant, not in a hateful form. They was just ignorant because that was just the way the times was at the time.
Right.
But the black folks were the biggest market, because of the way they were oppressed. They always wanted new stuff, whereas the white folks was always penny pinching, and they was always, no, black folks used to save and get top end shit. Black folks used to want the nicer clothes. They wanted the nicer shoes, the nicer car. They wanted the better cuts of meat from the grocery store. Even if they had to go to a separate line, they were still spending more. And so there was a lot of the corporate America that fucking love, they was loving it. More black folks were getting, even though they still weren't at the level of the white folks at the time, they were still doing better. That's why, you see a lot of the history where, the black families they were together, and they did have homes, and they did have this thing. And people are always like, well, how did they get that if the racism was so bad? There was still racism, but the almighty dollar trumps any kind of hate. That's what nobody realizes.
Well, let me piggyback then. When we talk about MAGA, and here's my take on it, okay? When we talk about Make America Great Again, that's essentially Donald Trump's slogan that got him elected. It's on the hats and everything.
Right.
So if that's his slogan, that means he has an idea of when America was great. Do you agree?
I would think so, but I think what he was specifically pointing out back then is the shit that we went through with Obama.
Well, no, we're not going to do that.
Well,
Here,
no,
let me
he was more going. It was just the different administrations and how the downfall went.
Yeah, let me finish my point then.
Okay.
When a 70, what is he, almost 80 now?
Yeah.
When an 80-year-old man tells you, I want to go back to when the period was great, typically that person is thinking about when it was great for them, right? Like maybe when they were a young man in their 20s, they were having fun, right? Right, like us and us, we're similar ages. If I ask you when was the best period of your life, you'll probably be like, oh man, the 90s was the bomb.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, music was great.
In that respect, Donald Trump got to be the 80s, which wasn't bad for black folks neither. Or
hold on. Let me finish my point. What years would Donald Trump have been in, like his 20s, maybe 30s?
In the 80s.
No, Donald Trump is 80 years old.
Donald Trump 80-some years old, probably like in the 40s or 50s.
Yeah, exactly. So I got a little surprise here for you guys. I want to play, and I want you guys to check this out, because the period that he's been talking about, the Make America Great Again period, has been right under our nose this whole time, and we missed it. But it's been right under our nose this whole time, and I'm gonna play it for you because I want you guys to check this out and tell me if you don't think that this isn't exactly what Trump is talking about.
And you knew where you were.
Girls and men were men.
We could use a man like Climate Hoover again. Didn't need no welfare states. Everybody pulled his weight. Gee, our old law sour and great. Those were the days.
Now tell me if that's not what the fuck Donald Trump has been talking about. Boy, the way Glenn Miller played. Y'all know who Glenn Miller is?
I don't recall who Glenn Miller was, but I do recall watching that show every night.
Everything is getting more expensive.
Because y'all gonna trip out. Yeah, if y'all was
a place to live.
Listen to this. Remember that from the Bugs Bunny cartoons?
Yeah, I've heard this plenty of times.
Yeah, what's up, Doc? right?
The
That's Glenn Miller
irony,
right there.
the
Yes.
irony of the
It's
old
been
And
right
then
out of our nose the whole time. Archie Bunker, who is a staunch conservative,
oh,
or the
thank you.
character of Archie Bunker is a
Oh,
staunch
I'm about to
conservative
throw these away.
on that show,
All
long
right,
for
thank
a
you.
period when things were
Yeah,
better than they were now.
well,
And that's the
I don't
period
think
that
so.
Donald Trump is
I
talking
needed
about.
them for my
okay. Well,
right
just to
now.
compound, just to go on top of that there, um, because I was
Boy,
brought
no
up
way.
on Archie Bunker and the Sanford and Son and the Jeffersons. Now and if you're using that as your example, then that's a fucking great example for our side because that show was put on TV to break down barriers. You know, Archie Bunker was supposed at first was portrayed this big racist and this big, what you would call MAGA now. But if you watch the show and you watch it, consecutively, his best friend became George Jefferson, who
That's
was
where the whole
another
Jefferson. That's where the
right
whole Jefferson show came off of. It was a spinoff of Archie Bunker.
Archie Bunker.
Archie
Yeah,
Bunker.
I want y'all to watch another clip here just real quick, man. Check this out.
And let me ask you this. Do you think Jimmy is roaming around the White House tonight trying to find a meatloaf to warm himself up on?
I don't think the Carters eat meatloaf.
Who the hell are they? They're only from Georgia. Oh, let me tell you something. I am so sick of Washington and all its works and all them politicians down there and them congressmen and the congressmen. Boy, I'll bet you won't find none of them congressmen turning down their electric blankets tonight. Because if they did, their secretaries would get up and go home. Oh, read this. The Democrats is doing the whole. The Democrats, and you put them in there. That's the face you had on you when you come back in the polls. Well, the Democrats' way of running this country is to go tell us all how we ought to make sacrifices. God, they're great on that stuff. But they're all going to have us over the hill to the poorhouse. We ain't going to be able to drive over there because we ain't got no gas, so we're going to have to walk it.
I'm trying to find the
The
fault in
Reader's
any of this.
Digest says walking is very good for you.
Oh, ain't that lovely? The Reader's Digest can always put a little joy into poverty. Listen, my whole point is this whole thing with the energy and everything. This is all a conspiracy. You know that is a conspiracy there. Listen, for years, all our lives, they've been telling us to go out and buy stuff that use energy. All electrical stuff. They got electric toasters, electric ovens, electric stove, electric stereo, electric TV, electric race, electric hair blower, electric knives, electric every damn thing. Not to mention the cars. And now, after all the big corporations there make the billions and billions of dollars worth of profits, signals, wham, they're changed. And after telling us for years that we can't live without this junk, now they tell us that we gotta live without it. The country is going straight into the dumper.
So does that sounds like that could be right now, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Doesn't
yeah.
that sound like that could be right now?
And the man that spoke no wrongness at
Well,
all.
hold on. I want y'all to see because the guy
Boy,
who
no
played
way, Glenn.
Archie is not that it's a character. That's not him, right? That's not how he actually
Well,
believes.
I don't know.
But he's playing a character on TV based off of stereotypes and
Right,
stuff that people believe. That clip is 40 years old, and it
right.
sounds like it could play on TV today.
Exactly. And then what is he bitching about? He's bitching about the Democrats telling us one thing, and then a few years later, it's totally changed.
But
But
you don't see the irony. It's a game. That's a cartoon character. That's not a real person.
but
They're saying that.
okay, but if you look into the guy who played Archie Bunker, he also played the cop on that show
Heat of
about
the
the
night. The
Mississippi.
heat
Yeah,
of the night.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
he was staunch about civil rights, and he was staunch about the bringing together of people.
That's
Yeah,
my point.
he
Just like
definitely messed with the colored people. Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
that's my point.
the one show. I'm glad you brought up Archie Bunker. I ain't seen it in years, but I do remember the one episode that touched me the most. That I remember vividly. It was an episode where him and a buddy of his, who was a fireman, they was sitting at the bar, and and Archie was talking about the gays. And back then, you was allowed to say the F word for the gays. But he threw out a couple derogatory marks or whatever, and then he was like Tinkerbell and Fairy and stuff like that. And then at towards the end of the episode, his boy looked at him after a drink, was like, Arch, what if I told you I'm one of them?
I
And
remember
he looked
seeing
at
that.
and he looked at him, and the tone got real somber, and it was just like it was a moment where he had to think about it. And I
Yeah, I've
think
seen that one.
that's what the show that's what we're missing. We're missing shows like Archie Bunker. We're missing shows like The Jefferson. That's when I know when racism was starting to go away. When we were able to talk about that shit on TV and make fun of it, and that that was late 70s going into the 80s. By the
Right.
time all them shows had their runs done, every white kid that I knew was idolizing Michael Jordan and Bo Jackson and Michael Jackson
I
and
think
all. There was no white folks that were any kind of glorification back when I was growing up.
I think you may be missing my point though, Marco. The character of Archie Bunker, like I said, is a fictional. He's a fantasy character, and what he is saying there was written by writers in a writing room, right? But what they were writing were characteristics overblown to make a point about Democrats at that time. It was for entertainment. It was propaganda, right?
I don't see it as
So with them making
propaganda. I
them
just
same
see it
points
never
now,
changed.
could it also be assumed that the points that Archie Bunker believed back then that were propaganda are also propaganda now?
I don't see them as propaganda. I don't understand why is it that if people bitching about being controlled and being lied to and being all that. I
Wow.
don't understand why any of that is propaganda. I don't
Yeah,
know. I mean,
I
it's
don't see
like
it as propaganda either. I don't see it as
it's just like
propaganda
Drake
either.
So,
said in the beginning.
so you
When
truly believe that Democrats wants to do clean energy because it's some plan to get everybody rich?
yeah, yeah, that's
Not
exactly
not
what
not
it is.
not everybody. It's always going to be the saturated powers that be, the 1%. I mean,
Who who has
I can.
who has more millionaires in their on their side, Republicans or Democrats?
That's a good question. I
Democrat,
don't know.
Who
Democrat,
have more millionaires and billionaires on their side, Republicans or Democrats?
Democrats, unless you're gonna count Elon. But if you're gonna put
Wow.
Elon in there, then you got to put Soros in there too. So if you exclude them two entities, it's the Democrats, dude. Look at
You think
Pelosi.
AOC
Look at
you think
Pelosi's
AOC or
portfolio.
Ilyan has more money than some of them
AOC's a
Republicans in
millionaire right now.
Yep,
She came
yep,
in with
definitely,
nothing. Elon
absolutely,
Omar came in with her brother with
nothing.
nothing,
Yeah,
and they
with
are
nothing.
millionaires right now.
Multi-millionaires. She's sitting
more
on like
more than
34 million.
more than
She's sitting on like,
Marjorie Taylor Greene or Lauren Boebert?
Yeah, they
yeah.
all got their money too. We're not saying no, but they
We're not
ain't
saying,
got
yeah,
their
they,
Wow.
money.
man.
But go ahead,
Go
bro.
ahead. At the end of the day,
Hmm.
I feel like 95% of Congress is controlled opposition. Either they're bought off by Qatar or they bought off by APEC.
Yeah,
None of their hands are clean. Either you got
Okay.
Qatar lining their wheels or you got APEC and Israel greasing. I mean,
yeah, you
that
ain't wrong.
yeah, that's how all of it. That's why they're so easily swayed into marching to the narrative of people like George Soros and all these other super elites who really want to tear down the country.
Okay.
We have outside interference and outside entities at work. I mean, George Soros is known for going around destabilizing countries, kind of like what we're looking at right now. Our country is being destabilized.
Wow. Okay. I want to play one more clip for you guys. And this one is about a minute and a half, 2 minutes. But this kind of argues the period that was quote unquote great for black people. And I think it kind of makes your point, but it makes it in a different way. And I want you guys to really listen to this because I think it's important history wise to understand. This is from a documentarian named David Hoffman. He interviewed a college professor named Manning Marable. A lot of people wouldn't know him, but he's definitely an eloquent speaker and super intelligent. And I want you to listen to a couple of minutes of what he had to say about when Doing Jim Crow, like literally doing Jim Crow and just after. Let me get a little sound here.
Future generations will want to know what you think and what you saw and how you see it now in 1989. Stick with this till the end, and I'll tell you what my 16-year-old son thought when he saw what you're about to
That's the
see.
documentarian, and this is
Segregation created a kind of schizophrenia. On one hand, you had just a totalitarian society, severe repression. My wife's community of Walton County, Georgia, you had more than a dozen lynchings, literally, after 1945 through the 1980s. You had severe economic and political repression aimed against people of color. On the other hand, you had, even within the bowels of oppression, as it were, you had the ability of people to carve for themselves a sense of community, which inculcated a sense of mission and constructive family values, not in a kind of narrow individualistic and materialistic sense that one saw in white middle-class America, but in the sense of, even within the midst of poverty, even in the midst of illiteracy, that people had value, that you nurtured young ones and you cared for the old ones, that you gave the children a sense of pride and dignity in who they were, that people set aside several weeks in February to instill in their young people a sense of what Black History Month was, in pride in Black heroes and heroines within the Afro-American past. Segregation meant not only the hardships, and it meant not only the lost opportunity, and it meant not only the terrible anxiety when you knew you were ready or prepared for a position and you didn't get it, and you had to go home and tell your wife or your children why you didn't get a position. But it was also a sharing time. It was also a sense of community and a sense of collective accomplishment in the face of just terrible odds. Children during the 1950s, Black kids had a clearer sense of who they were as African Americans, not in a kind of didactic sense that where you learn identity from textbooks or from history lessons, but rather through the culture of daily life, through the patterns of resistance, where there were members of your family everybody knew about who had stood up to the man.
So with that being said, I feel like in the argument when you guys argue "Make America Great Again," it's in a way that is almost accepting of the subordinate role that Black people had without uplifting that family value and individual pride and community unity that existed during segregation. Like, it's okay to say let's make America great again, but if you're going to say that, we need to say it in a way that also uplifts the Black pride and the community unity and the respect for elders and the identity that we gave to our children at that time, right? Like, if we say make America great again and people say, well, what period are you talking about? I feel like people of color that are MAGA don't espouse that clearly enough, so that when you say I'm make America great again, it sounds like you're longing for a time when you were subordinate, or when we were under Jim Crow laws, or when we were subject to segregation and tremendous racism. So in a way, I feel you guys' point when you say make America great again, because we do want to get back to that feeling, but I just feel like that's a better way to communicate it, the way that guy did. Does that make sense?
It kind of makes sense, but I think that's one of the biggest issues that we got with society nowadays. You didn't say it the way we wanted to hear it, so it's bad, and that's bullshit. Because I mean, just like the man was talking, he was talking about the 1950s and how the segregation and the missed opportunities and this and that happened. But just 15 years later, affirmative action was implemented. which brought everything to a level. Actually, it brought it to it kind of over that level to the point now where people think that affirmative action and DEI is actually helping people of color, or is actually helping, the whatever the population y'all want to call it, the grouped in with the DEI shit. Because again, that's something else I don't see how people of color got mixed into. But it made a lot of these, especially the younger kids, on top of what Graves said about the whole paying pretty much to separate families. You take that and you're like, okay, well, the black person, the Puerto Rican person, the Mexican, you guys aren't good enough. You guys aren't good enough for us. So we're going to give you this handout here because you're not good enough to be, you're not good enough. That's like
Exactly.
that
Exactly.
one clip that they like to always show about the Kurt kid.
The airplane. The airplane.
Right.
The airplane
You know,
pilots, which was
they
totally
try
taken
to
out of
say that was
context. They
right.
edited it and chopped it and butchered that shit to make it sound terrible.
Right,
And he was
right.
saying
He
some
did not
facts.
say that he did not want a black pilot. What he said was because of the implementation of these policies and the shit that we know that's confirmed. People of color were given the answers. You don't want somebody who was given the answers to the test flying your plane. You don't want that. If you was a black man and you went to pilot school and you hit your shit, you marched the right way, fucking get in the cockpit. But if you went to the fucking place and it was like, hey, hey, here's a cheat sheet. Go get your
Yeah,
shit, man.
we need 40%. We need 40% of y'all. We need 40%.
Yeah, yeah. And it did and again, going back to them days that gentleman was talking about, at that same time, here's your what about. There, y'all can have a drink.
What about
What about the Hispanics?
What about them?
His computer shut off right when he said that. They watching. Like they your computer froze on you right when
Well,
you said
listen,
what about Hispanics.
if I could step in here for a second,
Go
is
ahead,
he still
Greg.
talking?
His
Well, I don't want
computer's
him to
kind of
keep
like
cutting
going
in and out.
wacky. Yeah.
Okay. If I can chime in on that, I feel like with the whole MAGA thing, I feel like
Mm-hmm.
if that would have been Barack Obama's slogan, nobody would have a problem with it. They want to attach everything to this man to make it seem like he's just the most right. If that was Barack Obama's slogan, "Make America Great Again," people would get right behind it. But the amount of Trump hatred and Trump deranged syndrome out there, he can tell you the sky is blue, and it's going to be people out there say, "How dare him say that the sky is clearly purple?" Because they have that much of a hatred for him.
Yeah.
And that's just the harsh reality of it. And the interesting thing about that is we all grew up in the 80s. We all grew up during that era where you would see him with Michael Jackson, Mike Tyson, Oprah Winfrey once said he would make a great president. Nobody had a problem with that man until he switched to Democrat, until he came down that escalator. Then everybody, he was never late. And even when it came to that,
He must have got another phone call. Did you get another phone call, Greg?
Am I back?
You might be back. I think Greg may have got another phone call. The when you get a phone call during the show, it'll cut you off and disconnect you. Yeah, he'll pop back in a second. So he was making a good point, but he was going off on a tangent about Trump. I don't want to make this about Trump solely. I want to make this about you guys and your opinions and why you believe what you believe, not necessarily about Trump.
That's
I
why
mean,
I try to chime in when he was talking about that.
Yeah.
And again, I'm taking Trump out of this situation.
Yeah, I don't even want to talk about Trump.
I'm taking the Obamas out of this situation. I mentioned the other administrations as administrations, not as the people themselves. Because I think that's where the whole argument starts blowing up. Because one person starts saying, well, Trump did this. Well, then Obama did this. And then this person did this. We all know we got the funky motherfuckers in there. That's besides the point.
So to nail this question down then, what period is the great period that we're talking about that we want to return to? We're talking about that 50s, 60s era when there was a lot of black pride, family unity, respect for elders, cultural knowledge. Is that the period that we're talking about?
Yeah,
between
everybody just
between
got
this,
along
yeah,
better. Everybody just loved each other. I mean,
yeah.
even if you got my grandma's best friends were considered colored people. And she would say, my colored friend. But she would fucking die for that lady. She would die for Miss Maddie. She would have
Sure,
taken a bullet for Mr. Johnson.
sure.
But to
Yeah,
this
this
day,
is
you know,
like
if
I
she
said, this
would,
is just to define what that means for you guys, right? This is just to define and in doing my research and listening to that professor and his ideas about it, his ideas coming from inside out, like what was going on in the black community and how we handled our situation, I really like that. But keep in mind, there was horrible oppression and racism and redlining and all kind of stuff going on that was actively trying to keep us in our place.
It's still
So,
going on
so
today, though. It's still going on.
well, yeah,
Nothing about it has changed at
but
all. It's
but
just
it
new
was
players.
yeah,
I
it was very much overt.
Yeah,
There
oh
was
yeah,
no
definitely
colored
overdose.
there's no colored water fountain signs now. There's
Yeah,
no colored section on the buses now, right? There's
Uh,
no
I will
colored
start looking into
section of
your
the movie
research on
theater.
them ones because they're bringing it all back, and it's not because the white folks want it.
What who women what? They're
Yeah,
bringing what
yeah.
back?
They started to bring back the segregate the
They
yeah.
who?
now they're not calling them white only restaurants or white only bathrooms. They calling them black only restaurants and black only this and black only that. And that's where when you started talking about the man when he was talking about segregation, it's like Martin Luther King would be flipping over in his grave right now, especially with a lot of the views that are being pushed on the children of color these days. You know, everything that man fought for to getting rid of the segregation, the getting rid of the just black schools or just white schools, being a school. You know, they now that it's just it seems like at least in the eyes of you know from where I'm standing, it seems like everything that that man fought for is what everything that they're preaching to these kids are bad. You know, if you mix the races, then you're losing your culture. If you're what is it, colorblind, then you're really the real racist because you don't see your culture, this and that. And these is all points coming out of the book for critical race theory.
So let me ask real quick before you go off on that tangent. You would rather live in the 50s or 60s than live in the 2025s, the 2020s right now.
As far as the social environment, yeah,
Wow. Wow.
because
Well,
again,
Wow.
well,
you knew that back then, like your parents was gonna be there, your family was gonna be there, no matter what hardships that the outsiders brought in, your community was there for you. You know, the browns, the blacks, the yellows, you know, in the projects where I grew up, dude, it was all mixed up. I mean, like I said before, you know, at my Thanksgiving table, I mean, it ranges from ginger white to Motorola black. They go all around
Martha, you couldn't vote. You couldn't vote in the
What
60s.
is your vote doing right now, Rob? What is
right.
your vote doing right now? The last
Wow.
time people of color's votes counted, we put in some idiot who laughed in our faces and then put half of our population in jail.
Wow. Okay.
You know, they have a thing that they say, and I'm pretty sure Marco is familiar with this phrase. Presidents, and when you get to that level of that shit, they're not elected at all. They're selected. They know who's going to be the president here. Okay, prime example: Bill Clinton. When Bill Clinton was governor of Arkansas, Mena,
Take a drink,
Arkansas,
guys.
and so yeah, so listen, so when he was a governor of Arkansas and Big Bush was running all the cocaine, he said, "Hey man, let me run the coke out of Mena, Arkansas, and when it comes time for them to pull your name, you're gonna be the president." He played
Hey, it
ball.
wasn't just coke; it was coke and guns, and there was
Yeah,
3 kids killed over that shit,
yep,
and they
on
made
the
a movie
railroad
over that.
tracks. Yeah, on the railroad tracks, the kid
Yeah.
on the tracks. Yeah, I mean the body count is astronomical, but to be honest with you, the only, in my opinion, I feel like as if the only votes that matter is you got to get involved locally. You got to get involved with your local politics
I will. I
because
can
once
agree.
it's
I can definitely agree with that.
Yes, yes.
yeah, because once you get to that high up, it's all a political game. It's all we're there. It's the world is a stage, and it's a club, and we ain't in it. It's what George Carlin said. It's a big club, and we ain't in it. We're
Yep.
not
Mhm.
in it. It don't matter who you are, what side. You know, I tell my friends this all the time. I say you got people who stop talking to each other over politicians who wouldn't piss on you if you were on fire. They don't know you
Yeah,
exist.
yeah.
They don't give a shit about nothing. At the end of the day, it all boils down to them lining their own pockets and attending to their own agenda on either side. They don't give a shit about us. They piss on our leg and tell us it's raining. They sway whatever they say they need to get the votes that they need. And like I said, that shit don't even matter because at the end of the day, they already know who the next president is going to be.
Well, see, I
Oh,
think I think I'm compounding on that though. I think the one finger in the butt that all the politicians had was the old 47. 47 wasn't supposed to be selected. 47 wasn't supposed to be there. That's why they
yeah,
hated him.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
He
He
was
definitely wasn't. He
he
wasn't
was
supposed to be
not
there.
supposed to be there at all.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
that was that. And then and then on top of that, with then he's slapping them in their face because at that I feel like things might have changed now, but I don't think at that point in time when he got into it, he could be bought. I don't think he could be controlled or
and
bought,
not in
so
the
they seen him
beginning.
as dangerous.
Well,
Yeah, but I think he's bought now.
there's something that I've seen, and this is the one time I will bring this man up because it's something that stuck with me. Um, Everybody knows how I feel about Barack Obama, but nevertheless, he
No, no,
did
no.
an
Why don't you
inter.
tell them? Why don't you
He,
tell people? Because maybe this is the first time people are
I'm
seeing
not a fan. I'm not a fan at all, and it's not
That
because of
makes that makes that makes two
it's
of us.
because of his policies and because of the lies that was propagated by him.
it.
That
But
Wow.
makes that makes two of us.
that is one thing he said that really stuck with me, and it was an interview when he first got into office. The interviewer asked him, "You promised this, this, and this. Why hasn't this happened? Or why aren't you moving towards this? Or why aren't you implementing this?" And he looked straight at him and he says, "Look, when you're running for president, you got all your hopes and dreams there. You want to do nothing but good for the community. You want to do nothing but good for the country. But once you get in here," and he said it just like this, "once you get in here, they tell you what you can and can't do.
Yep.
And then you realize what you are going to do and what you're not going to do."
Yeah,
But
if you
even,
can
even
share that link with me to that interview, and I'll make sure to put
okay,
it in as
okay.
part of our show.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
What
Yeah,
I want
I
to
mean the real power shows up because the president is nothing more than a puppet anyway. They're
right,
definitely controlled by somebody else, and they're definitely. I
I
mean,
think when 45, when he was 45 and he rolled in, he was like, "Fuck all you guys, I'm gonna do what I do," and
well
that's when he
listen.
mhm.
I don't want to get on I don't want to get on a Trump train too much. I really want to just stick
Well,
to
no,
the
this is
interviews.
going back to like I was saying, because in this moment now, he made a lot of promises and shit, and that we see are all falling apart. But
Yep.
I think that just falls under the same thing that Barack was talking about. Now you're in second term. You've been here before. You ain't gonna be doing this, so you're gonna end up in the HRC cemetery. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Mhm.
Well, let's kind of lighten around the rest of the questions then, because I knew that MAGA question was going to take a long time because the period that I foresee you guys were going to romanticize about as far as being great again was that 50s, 60s era. But I wanted to point out the good and bad about it. The good was we had strong cultural identity, respect for elders, black pride, all of that stuff. Like you even started by saying, Grape, Black
Mhm.
Panthers and all that stuff. But society was very much against us at that time as well.
Oh yeah.
You
Oh
know,
yeah.
laws, police, systems, and things like that. So let's lighten around a few more questions here and see if we can get through the rest of them. What is the message from MAGA for people of color? So with you guys being MAGA, what what should Black people know about MAGA that it's actually not so bad? It's actually not the monster that everybody believes it to be. What would you say people should know about it?
Um, you want me to go first? You want to go first this time, Marco, or you want me to go?
I think Marco lost his feed. He'll pop back in a second. You can go ahead and go.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Marco lost his feed. He'll pop back in a second.
I can't hear nobody.
Oh, you can't hear me either? Whoa. Well, guys, we'll see if we can get them to pop back in again because I really want to know the answer to this particular question. If you are MAGA and you want us to be MAGA, please explain why. Greg, can you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah, cut the sound and cut off. I'm gonna just start by saying that people have a misconception that MAGA is strictly Caucasian. And then they have the misconception that every MAGA Caucasian is a racist. That's not true. And as a matter of fact, you have several minority groups that are predominantly black, such as MAGA Black. Um, it's a group of targeting black males between 18 and 34 years old, recent
Hmm.
graduates, professionals, part of the MAGA Align organization toward independent and unaffiliated black voters. There's also a group called MAGA Black Georgia. It's a state-based organization aiming to amplify Black conservative voices and focus on issues like education, and home ownership. You got
Hmm.
Black Republican Mafia, and that's a label used for a more informal network of young Black conservatives in Washington, D.C., including political operatives and influencers.
Okay.
You have the Young Black Conservatives, an organization movement of young Black people who identify as conservative and are MAGA aligned, uh, and they were actually founded by a woman named Michaela Montgomery, with a focus of converting and organizing African American students into conservative Republicans. And she's a young Black conservative activist who founded a thing called Conservative Culture, and that's a group that works to engage African American students and young professionals with Republican and MAGA aligned politics. So and the numbers are growing exponentially because they're starting to, as people are starting to think for themselves instead of being programmed and just set anything is set in front of them and they're going with it. And a lot of the problem, I've never seen so many intelligent political people who can't read past the fourth grade reading level.
Hmm.
I've never seen so many. All of a sudden now everybody's a politician, and it's because of these fucking YouTube clips and these TikTok edits that they get, and now or they watch CNN in constant rotation, and they're being spoon fed a whole bunch of lies and a whole bunch of propaganda. And if you take just a little bit of your time out and actually do some digging and come up with your own conclusions, a lot of people want to be with the bandwagon. Everybody, they're looking for something to hate. They're looking for something to be angry about. So let's give it to them. So I just feel like and then just because you're black, and like I said, I lean towards MAGA, but and not it's not even but it's not even based on Trump, because right now he's definitely starting to piss me off with a whole bunch of things he's doing and not doing. You know what I mean? And I'm just like how Marco Torres says, I'm gonna call people on their bullshit. If you doing righteous shit, I'm gonna say, hey man, this man deserves some credit for doing this right. If you're doing some bullshit, you deserve to be put on blast for doing bullshit. So
Hmm.
I'm more of a equal opportunity motherfucker. Like, I like some of this shit y'all doing. I like some of the shit y'all doing, but I have to actually sit and say that I don't really see much of anything I like that the Democrats are doing right now.
Okay. But the message from MAGA. What's the message from MAGA for Black people? Is it Black pride? Is it unity? Is it social programs? Is it reparations? Is it not
I
reparations? Like, what's the
I,
message?
I got
Like
a I
like
got an answer for that one.
yeah.
And I've noticed that a lot of people ask this. The message is you're not Black American. You're not Black this. You're not Black. You are American. You are no worse or no better than anybody else. You have the
Mhm.
same opportunities now that anybody else. This is not the 50s. This is not the 20s. You, as a Black man, and you proved it. You proved it over winning your trophy the other day. You, as a Black man, have the same opportunities as any white man in America these days.
Mhm.
You know,
Hmm.
and the biggest message that I noticed that conservatives, not MAGA, conservatives are trying to get to the colored folks out there, or people of color, whichever way you want to say it, um, is that you're equal. You're equal. You're not a victim anymore. You know,
Yeah, I
there's
definitely agree
you
with
know
that.
the police. You don't got to be Black anymore to get beat up by the police. White folks is getting down by cops constantly nowadays. So that and there was something else, like one of the
Well,
questions. Well, I'm gonna let you get to the question. Just
yeah, that takes me to this then. Are there any major accomplishments or goals that MAGA has accomplished for Black people? and without
Yes.
mentioning the HBCU funding, because that has basically gone by the wayside. I think Trump cut all of that. But what other goals or accomplishments can MAGA say that it's done for Black people?
I got. Let me start
Yeah,
this with Marco, if you don't mind.
go for
All
it.
right, all right. So I'm glad you asked that question because I did a lot of research into this. So, you got the economic empowerment, also known as the Platinum Plan, which was actually pitched by Ice Cube,
Hmm.
and Ice Cube tried to meet with several Democrats to discuss this. Nobody would meet up with him except for the Orange Man. He's the only one that sat down and actually implemented this. So it's the Platinum Plan, and this includes proposals to expand access to capital for Black-owned businesses. It also promised creation of hundreds of thousands of new Black-owned businesses and millions of jobs in Black communities. It aims to increase lending through community development, financial institutions, CDFIs, and leverage federal funds to private sector investments. Um, we also had a criminal justice reform. The First Step Act signed by the Orange Man is cited as delivering benefits to many Black Americans by reducing mandatory minimum sentences for some violent offenses and offering pathways for reduced sentences. The campaign also emphasized restoring law and order and focusing on safety in Black communities, which is often pitched as benefiting communities disproportionately affected by violent crimes. um, Healthy employment and income gains. Supporters point to periods of historically low income for Black workers during Trump's first term. There are also claims that median income in some Black households increased under his policies.
He may have got another phone call.
Oh,
Those are all great points, but as of right now, Black unemployment has increased. Over almost 400,000 Black women have lost their jobs
no, no,
since
no.
Trump has been president.
Black unemployment
The
didn't increase. Unemployment, period, increased.
but
Now,
across
now
but
when you
but across
separate it, when you separate it, are is the Black unemployment higher than the white unemployment? Because I don't think so.
Okay, well, just anybody watching the show, make sure to research the numbers.
Right,
But
right,
from
right.
what I'm
Always.
hearing, and I don't have those numbers in front of me, so he might be true, he might be right. But from what I'm hearing, from what I did hear, Black unemployment has increased like 1.4%, and over 300,000 Black women have lost their jobs. Disproportionately more Black women have lost their jobs than other people or races through Trump's second term. Also, Trump is trying to implement laws that would make it a penalty by death to sell drugs now, which
Certain drugs,
disproportionately affects blacks.
certain drugs, and
No, he's not. He's not going after the dudes selling dime bags and eating kilos. He's going after major drugs. He's not like, oh man, I sold an eighth. They're about to kill me. Oh shit, I just sold them a half a bird. They about to be off of my head. No,
Well,
yeah, I don't think that. I think that
yeah,
that's more
well,
along the line.
he is trying to implement mandatory minimum sentences if you are caught with any amount of drugs.
I
So
agree with
just
that.
yeah,
wow,
because
okay,
drugs,
I agree with that.
the drugs he's talking about are heroin, fentanyl,
Fentanyl, shit that's killing people.
methamphetamines. Those are the drugs he's talking about. Because
okay, okay.
on the other hand, when you look into the drug policies, he's trying to push the descheduling of marijuana and mushrooms and shit like that.
Okay.
So I
Okay.
mean,
No, no, that's good. That's good. I just want to bring that up to you guys. I didn't know if you guys knew those numbers. If you know those numbers and you're okay with it,
now
yes,
a,
sir,
a
sir.
good point that you brought up in that though
Hmm.
was it's going to affect people of color disproportionately.
Right.
Now that don't bother you. That don't bother you at all because that's pretty much saying statistically the numbers don't lie. That's saying that the black folks is the ones dealing in the drugs. The Puerto Ricans, the Hispanics, the people of color are doing the drugs. That's what
Mo-
is coming from the
People,
left.
no, people in low income communities do drugs, um, and get caught at a higher rate than people with influence and money. Plus, they don't have the money to pay legal fees or and buy lawyers to fight drug charges like that.
I
So if
mean,
I'm implementing mandatory sentencing, that
well, wouldn't that
disproportionately
be
hurts
common?
people in low income communities.
Yeah, but
It's not
wouldn't that
a
be
it's not a
common
black or
sense
white
to
thing.
tell you?
It's
Wouldn't
a
common
income
sense
thing.
tell you though, if you gonna do this, you gonna do it so you don't get caught. You know you wrong. You know you wrong, but you gonna do it so. And if you do, you happen to get caught. I mean, you knew what you was going against. Again, this is like the whole cigarette argument. They putting all this stuff on the side of the cigarette pack and stuff.
Thank
This
you.
gonna kill you. That's gonna kill you. We gotta ban cigarettes. Look, if somebody made the conscious decision to smoke now, this ain't back in the day when nobody knew what the effects of nicotine or whatever did on the body. But if now you make a conscious decision to go and smoke a cigarette, that's on me. If I die, I die. So if I make a conscious decision to go start selling this dope to kids and I go to jail forever, that was my decision. That got nothing to do with my skin color. That got nothing to do with nothing. If I got the money to get myself out, so be it. But look at Puff Daddy right now. He doing his damnedest to try to get out, and he still ain't out.
Is that a what about? Can we drink? I think
But
that might be a what
about
about.
There's been 3 what about so far.
Hey,
I got 2 and Grape got 1.
all right, we might have to do a part 2 because we didn't even talk about Black Lives Matter because I
Oh
really
yeah,
want to get you
I was
guys'
waiting for
opinion on
that
that.
yeah, I was
We-
waiting for that one too, boy. I had some.
Yeah, yeah,
Hey,
we haven't talked about systematic racism, which I really wanted to talk about with you guys. A lot of Black MAGA people don't believe in systematic racism. Oh,
Not at all.
everything is fair, but I truly believe that if looking at the systems, it's hard not to believe there's not a legal systematic racism, medical systematic racism, economic systematic racism. There's a lot that I believe exists, and I would love to have that conversation with you guys.
Yeah, we
yeah,
definitely
absolutely,
gonna have
man,
to do a part
absolutely.
2.
Anytime,
Yeah.
anytime, man. Just let me know and I'll be there,
So we
prepared
yeah we
too.
might we might have to do a part 2 because there's still half the questions I didn't even get to. So let's schedule a part 2 for maybe November because I think we have elections coming up in November,
Yep.
Yep.
and I would love to kind of have this discussion around election time again.
And
And
be,
do
between now and then,
uh
and if the American people can't peep the play of what goes on every year during elections, every year, right? In fact, I'll let Marco every year right around this time before election, what starts happening? Hello.
yeah, Marco, what started? He's asked you a question.
Um,
Are you there? I think he may have froze again.
He might froze.
Um,
Okay, anytime it gets to be about this time right now, every year, every other year or so, we have a rash of mass shootings. Prepare to see a whole bunch of them between now and when we see each other again.
wow. Why do you think that is?
Well, you got people who want to be tough on crime. Okay, so you're gonna have people basically taking both sides of the political spectrum. On
Mm-hmm.
gun violence, oh, you got the gun people. We got to take away the guns. It's gonna stop the shooting. It's gonna cause division because the people with guns are like over my dead body.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then you got the people who gonna say, "Oh, we need to be tougher on crime." So now they rally their votes because they're tougher on crime, and they get those people behind them. Then you're gonna have your opposing parties and be like, "We need to really think of some alternative sentencing and lower these crimes, lower these sentences and these harsh penalties." And they're gonna have their group of cronies supporting them, which is another form of division.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's all a political ploy. And believe it or not, I don't know if you're familiar with what a false flag operation is,
Yeah.
but a lot of these shootings ain't really what they appear to be, man.
Yeah.
Some of this shit is really them pulling off some dry turkey shit with paid actors. I mean, multi-million dollar production sets. They're filming a movie and they're putting it on the news for the public to watch.
Yeah, and I didn't want to get into this because anytime you mention CK, it's basically too hot right now to mention without getting fried in the media. But
Yeah,
there's a lot of people saying that the text message stream
Oh,
that
that's
they
fake as
got,
fuck.
huh?
It's fake as fuck.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
it
yeah.
was.
My
Listen,
love, my darling. I'm on the run. I'm on the lam from the police. Their cruisers are everywhere, and they're like language that no 20-year-old uses.
So
so
Like
so
paragraph after paragraph of
well,
language that no 20-year-old
well
uses.
jumping on that. There was a guy who actually took the text message feed and typed it into Grok and asked Grok whether this would have been typed by a gentleman of his age and of this era, or
Right.
if this would have been AI. And
Hmm.
it said this definitely looks like AI. I'm paraphrasing, but the
Yeah.
Grok said this definitely looks like it was AI.
Yeah.
man,
So
and another thing, I'm gonna send
mhm.
both y'all. This whole thing is really starting to like. It's really starting to turn into a whole rabbit hole of its own. I'm gonna send you. I was on my way back from Buffalo today, and I listened to a podcast by them. You know who Tommy Truthful is, Marco?
Sounds familiar.
So I was listening to a podcast from him and Donut, and you know, a lot of things that go on in the world is based off of gematria, which is the old Hebrew numerical code, and you'd be surprised how numbers coincide with so many things, and it's all predictive programming. For instance, I'm gonna send y'all the videos, and I want y'all to watch it, and we could talk
Yeah,
about it if
it
you
has a
want.
lot of
I'm
Yeah,
gonna
a lot
put
send
of
it
it
in
to
the
you.
group chat. Put it in the group chat.
stuff.
I'll be happy to talk about it, and we'll reschedule. And any final thoughts you guys want to have or make before we go ahead and end the show for tonight?
Yeah,
Oh no,
I'd
man.
say just from the right and from if you want to keep calling us MAGA, uh, you know, most of us on the right or who lean towards the right are just like you guys are people now. You know, I go on stage and make a joke about how the N word don't belong to black folks no more. You know,
Oh
the N word now is Nazi. It
no,
ain't
that's
the N
still us.
word.
No. The N word is still us, Marco.
No, the N word is not y'all no more. The N word is
No,
the N
no, we
word
got
ain't
that.
been
No,
y'all in a long time,
that's
and
that's that's us right there.
that's where the right is trying to tell you. You know, look, y'all people, we can thrive together or we can keep fighting each other. You know, we would rather thrive together. That's all we try to say. No, you don't need a handout. If anything, you need a hand up. You
Yeah,
know, you need a hand up.
Okay.
If you and me are going for the same job and you are more qualified than me, I shouldn't get the job just because I got a darker or lighter skin color.
That's
yeah,
not what happened.
absolutely.
I hear what you're saying. That's not. And we'll dig deeper in part two. And how about you, Grape? Is there any final thoughts you want to make before we end the show?
Oh no, man. I just want to say I enjoyed myself. We had an open dialogue. Everybody was
Yeah.
really
Thank you
punctual,
for having us
and
out here.
yeah, thank you for having us on there, and I can't wait to do it again. You know what I mean? I definitely appreciate you for not only having this dialogue amongst us, but now we got to get out here and make sure we share this with the community and with everybody we can share it with, so they can see how this is really supposed to be done.
All
Right,
right.
right.
I'll put the link in the chat, and you guys can share it around your socials as much as you want. So I'm gonna pop you guys out, and I'm gonna do one final closing message. And I appreciate you guys for participating and having a respectful, civil conversation about
Thanks for
something that's
having us,
really
man. Thanks for
controversial.
having
All the
us.
time, yeah, all the time, brother. I'll see you soon.
All right, man. Talk to you
All
guys
right,
later.
man.
Thank you guys again. All right, so there you have it, guys. We had a dialogue with a couple of members that maybe not all the way MAGA, but definitely conservative. And I think we were able to maybe come to some common ground on a few things. And maybe there's some things that we just will never necessarily agree on. But what we can agree on is that we want the best for everybody. We want the best for each other. And as long as we're respectful with each other, as long as we're continuing the dialogue, and as long as we're being respectful with each other, I don't see how we can't as eventually unite and come together at some point. So this has been Rob Coleman from Are You Serious? A little bit more serious show. We'll try to get back to the laughs next show, but I feel like this was important, and I hope you guys got something from it and felt like it was important too. So until the next one, my guys, thank you guys for checking out another episode of Are You Serious? Peace.